Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement presented by Barstool Sports. I am your host, Robbie Fox. Along with me is my co-host, Clem, and we are here for a loaded show today. We didn't even know we were going to do a show when we woke up today, and then James Gunn went and dropped his entire DCU Phase 1 on our heads.
Special show, special or early show. The show is going to happen no
Yeah.
matter what, but it's happening Tuesday, January 31st. I saw someone tweet something out earlier in the day, like I had a terrible sleep. I was up at 4:30, but I had to wake up by 6 because I had to reserve Disney restaurants, Bob. That's what you have to do. A
Oh.
little preview into life in the Disney world is you have to book your restaurant 60 days ahead of when you're going to go. You want to grab and go from places, you can place orders online, mobile, yada, yada. But if you want to go get your character breakfast, you go to some of the nicer places. There's even a Rainforest Cafe down there, which I was like, wow, let's go back to the future here and hit the Rainforest Cafe. You have to reserve everything. So I was getting a little preview of what life's going to be like in Disney, where I'm just like half awake. But I saw someone, actually, I believe it was my fellow chap over in England, heavy spoilers, had said something about like James Gunn and phase and announcement. I'm like, wait, that's coming out today? And so I said to you, I said, dude, let's talk about this news because it's going to be as fresh as it's going to be right now. We'll bring up The Last of Us, which will be in the second half of the pod for the people who haven't watched yet. No spoilers. We'll save that for the end because it was a tremendous episode, seemingly from all corners of the internet. And I was like, this way, we'll kind of just kill two birds with one stone and just talk about two things that are, I think, on the top of all the nerds' brains right now.
And I'll put the timestamps in the description, or if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the chapters there. So if you want to skip ahead to that, if you don't care about the DC stuff, you can skip ahead to that. Real quick, the Royal Rumble was this weekend. We did a little Royal Rumble pool in our comments, with the prize being, I think you said it was going to be a chicken parm wedge the next time you see whoever wins. And funny enough, the person who wound up winning the number 30 spot, which was Cody Rhodes, shout out Cody Rhodes, friend of the podcast, actually won the Royal Rumble. You know this person.
I know this person. Shout out my boy Steve here. King Conk is what his name is. Which, if you go back to the last thing, he has a YouTube page. I'm sure if you just Google King Conk, and it has some all-time nostalgia. It has like his logo was a Blockbuster Video thing. He basically like refurbishes old arcade games. Like he buys them, he collects them. So he is a fellow nerd in the basement here. I didn't even know he watched a list. I think he might have just got on for that one, heard the Rumble, loved it. He's an old neighbor of mine, lived in my parents' neighborhood, which is like a stone's throw away from here. Was like friends with my brother growing up, and we put that in order. We put the order, we shuffled it up. The computer spit out the numbers. He got 30. Guys, I couldn't do this if I tried. So the fact that I will be giving a chicken parm from my go-to pizzeria, Brado Trattoria, and it's someone that lives here and knows exactly what I'm talking about and calls it a chicken parm wedge, it was so perfect. Your boy Cody Rhodes wins it. Everyone wins here in the basement. And actually, you know what? I'm going to, while it's on the top of my head right now, everyone, if you can, please, thumbs up, just comment the most random word that comes into your head. I want to see words. I want to see words in these comments. Kerfluffle is mine. I love kerfluffle.
Oh, that's a good one.
Give me a
how about brouhaha?
Brouhaha, it's a good one as well. Doesn't have to be a fight where it could be whatever it wants, but just give us a nice random word that pops in your head. Let's fuck with the algorithm. They're like, what the hell are the Basement Boys doing right now? We just have one word comments popping up left and right. So shout out to Steve for winning the contest. Basement contest, I tweeted it out. People were just coming back in ready to rock. So hopefully for the people watching on YouTube, we can get some more giveaways and fun stuff because there's a lot of stuff coming our way. The Basement Boys are going to be stuck in the basement. And before we get into obviously all the James Gunn news, speaking of the Basement Boys and gals, we have ourselves a listener here who she's gotten sick. We know her and her boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
And we've
got loyal basement listeners. Love them, both of them.
Diehards, awesome people. And she reached out and sounds like she's going through some serious stuff here. She has she set up a GoFundMe. She's going through chemo. She has some tumor regression infusions that she's looking to get done. Her name is Megan. Her and her boyfriend, which I don't know if I'll say. But long story short, just like good-natured people that we've known for years. So this isn't like someone that just popped up out of nowhere. And they said, hey, listen, like they were like, is there any way you guys could help spread the word on this? And we're like, almost like, I'm like, of course we can. And they're like, I don't know. But And I was like, that's the one thing, my proudest moment, my favorite thing about working for Barstool is it's a community and everyone helps each other out. We've seen it with countless things in the past. Once Peter Sheridan took over, even before that, when it was just Dave in a basement in a dentist office, he was out raising money for people. Kev has done a ton of great work with the people in New York City, FDNY and NYPD and all that stuff. Then obviously the Barstool Fund. And then whenever we have kind of these random stoolies always help stoolies, man. It's honestly my favorite part of the job is just knowing that like people will help other people. It kind of restores your faith in humanity, which always takes a hit whenever you turn around, it seems,
Yeah, so we're both going to tweet out the GoFundMe link. Check our Twitters, anything for that. If you want to see it, if you missed it on our Twitter, tweet at us. Be like, where's the GoFundMe link? We'll reply and tweet it right at you. But sometimes you need a hand, and we're hoping to have some stoolies help give them a hand.
Yeah, it's called Zollinger-Ellison syndrome, and it's a 1 in a million lifelong disease with no cure. So it's no bueno. And the treatment's $780 per treatment. Healthcare, I want to get the healthcare podcast on the base, but that'll be in a few weeks. We'll deal with the healthcare system in this country. By the way, Mr. Beast curing 1,000 blind people. What
craziness? I met him, by the way. He came to a Pup Punk show.
How was Mr. Beast? I don't know much about Mr. Beast. I know he does crazy numbers. He always does, like, I remember he did the Squid Games where they did like a real life Squid Games. Seemed like a cool guy.
Seemed very cool. We didn't know him because it was so many years ago that, I mean, he was huge on YouTube. Don't get me wrong. He literally got Sup Dogs to win the contest over the Jonas Brothers bar.
Oh, he beat the Jonases?
He was like big then, but we just weren't aware of him. So I think Rowan introduced him on stage. I might have said this before as like Mr. Monster. And we were like, oh no, that's not his name. But yeah, he was very nice. He came with like a camera guy, obviously. I think he was making a video out of it and was just chilling backstage with us. So shout out Mr. Beast curing blind people.
Shout out Mr. Beast. What an awesome thing. I have to check out. I saw the video on my TV. One of my things for the new year is to get on YouTube more and watch my things through YouTube. Always give the thumbs up and all that kind of stuff and just get inundated in the culture. And I saw that thing and I'm like, I'm reading this wrong. Cures 1,000 blind people. Like, it said like 1,000 like cures blindness through 1,000 surgeries. I'm like, did one poor person in this thumbnail have 1,000 surgeries? Because that seems like it would honestly be about right to cure blindness. It would take 1,000 surgeries. That's the way my
about this thinks. Apparently it's an 8-minute surgery.
No,
like that. Boom.
No.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on here right now?
I know. It's like crazy shit.
Dude, LASIK blew my mind when I found out that was a however long minute surgery it was, and it just like made you see better. Being able to giving the gift of sight takes 8 minutes, and I'm sure it's crazy money and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, if you guys want to help out someone here that listens to the podcast, I always love the community we have. We always say the Boysmith boys and gals, we're not the biggest bunch, but we fucking love each other. It'll be pinned to my Twitter, and if you guys need the link just to help out, Robbie and I are pitching in as well. So shout out to everyone out there, and our girl Megan. You guys are gonna get through this all right.
Absolutely. We're there with you. May the force be with you. Now let's get into the James Gunn DCU projects. Phase 1 is completely announced. Now there's 10 or 11 projects, depending on how you look at it. And they are calling Phase 1 Gods and Monsters, which I love. Like titling it something. It's such a simple thing, but Marvel usually does that after the fact. Like after the Infinity Saga, they said Infinity Saga. The next one's Multiverse Saga. Both make sense. Gods and Monsters. It's a little metal.
It's very metal. I dig it. It's simple yet satisfying.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like when you think Superman, that's a motherfucking god, and then we won't spoil all the announcements and whatever. But the last announcement they had, that's a big old monster, and it is going to be. And I was always wondering. I felt like Marvel did it after the fact. I kind of like knowing going in that they have already put it down. So again, if you're someone that is kind of level-headed, a little skeptical about things, you had your time, DC, for me to be the skeptical person. I'm telling you right now, I drink this man's Kool-Aid. So I just seeing Gods and Monsters, I'm like, oh, what a smart thing to do. I'm fawning over him.
I know, me too.
I'm fawning over him. The way I look at him is the way the two characters in The Last of Us looked at each other. That we'll discuss. There's some things that happen in that episode that I might do to James Gunn if he hits this out of the park, because I love it.
I'm right there with you. The first 2 projects, he said, are kind of like an intro to the universe, because the first 2 projects are a little bit smaller on the terms of like the massive universal scale. The first one is an animated series that he's already written. It's going to be 7 episodes, and it's called Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is a show about classic monsters fighting Nazis. We've talked about it on the show here. Nazis are a cheat code. You put Nazis in your show, and you're instantly going to get that animosity from us. We're going to have that emotional investment and be like, punch that fucking Nazi in the face. So, yeah, I'm in. And the interesting part about this, and I think the cool part about it, is they're looking to cast voice actors that are going to be able to play these characters in live action because they're bringing the animated characters in.
I like that. So it works. Actually, I was going to say it's kind of like with Guardians, where it's like I could have seen Vin Diesel play a Groot. I could have seen Bradley Cooper play a Rocket Raccoon. I'll try not to like tie everything James Gunn does back to the Guardians, but it does. It kind of feels like that. I love this idea because, again, fuck Nazis, anti-Nazi.
Yeah.
Not only are we anti-Nazi, in my mind, we are the #1 Barstool anti-Nazi podcast. We trump all the other podcasts in terms of our anti-Nazism. So if those guys hate Nazis times 10, that's how much I fucking hate Nazis.
10x.
Yeah, 10x. When you're doing this though, this is what James Gunn is doing this. He's like, all right, the Creature Commandos, you're not going to have sky high expectations, right? And again, go back to the Guardians. It's kind of like this, probably, I imagine, a wacky team. I'm looking at this crew. It is a hodgepodge of misfits.
It is.
You throw monsters fighting Nazis. You know what you're doing there? You're running the power eye. It's 1st and 10, and you're going, we're going to get 3 yards here no matter what happens. Maybe we hit a 80-yard run for a touchdown, but at least we're getting 3 yards, and then we're set up for 2nd and 7, and we have a drive started here. They're not running any flea flickers that's going to get a fumble or like a sack for 15 yards. This is easy. Monsters kicking the shit out of Nazis. Fuck Nazis. Let's fucking go.
Let's go. And I also think James Gunn's writing style will lend itself very well to an animated series, like sort of that raunchiness that the Harley Quinn series has. I could see James Gunn writing in that. I mean, James Gunn actually makes an appearance as himself in that show.
That Harley Quinn series is that HBO Max?
Yeah.
I sent you the trailer for, I think they have a Valentine's Day special. And I was like, this is awesome. I thought it was like,
yeah.
I thought it was a one-off, the only time they've ever showed it. Like, oh, I love that show. I watched season 1. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't know this was a thing. I could definitely see James Gunn doing very well with this. And again, it's like, you could just do whatever you want to Nazis. Then it's like, yeah, I'm going to laugh and enjoy it. And I could see James Gunn. He's kind of sick and twisted when he wants to be. He's definitely,
it'll probably be gory, right? Like Invincible level gory. The next thing, another smaller scale project, is a series called Waller, focused on Viola Davis's Amanda Waller. She's one of the few that have survived the DC transition here, and she's made it into this phase. James Gunn promises that she's going to be teaming up with some of the Peacemaker cast in this, and the 2 writers involved, one worked on Watchmen, the HBO show, and the other was the creator of Doom Patrol, which was a show that a lot of people really loved on HBO Max, and it got canceled in either the whole DC transition or the Warner Media HBO Max transition, one of those. So it's cool that he gave that guy a job. In terms of, am I excited for this? Yes, because it's James Gunn and I know it's the Peacemaker universe. I never would have said, oh, Amanda Waller needs her own show. But before Peacemaker, I also said, I don't know if Peacemaker needs his own show. I was wrong about that.
I said, I'm pretty sure if I go back on the podcast and be like, I didn't really love John Cena in the movie. I really don't think he needs his own show. But in Gunn, we trust, and kind of it goes with Waller. I almost feel like Waller could be, she's almost, I don't want to say Doctor Strange, but she's almost going to be in the sense where I don't think she'll be like the lead of the show. She'll be like the leader of the show, but I feel like all the characters she probably bumps into along the way and all the things that happen will take over. And I think I said it during the Suicide Squad, which I didn't love as much as you did. There was something about that actress, so you're like, oh man, like she scares the living shit out of me. And she crushed in Peacemaker as well. Peacemaker, I think we said, was our favorite piece of content for 2022, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think that was number 1.
I liked the Batman better, but
that's right.
It would have been number 2.
Number 2, and that's including Marvel, that's including Star Wars and everything. So we were both huge fans of, which came out of fucking no. I still can't believe how Peacemaker just completely snuck up on us. Like, I was obsessed. I still listen to that Wigwam song like every day. The dance number, if I'm ever feeling down, I'll just throw it on.
Weird that didn't get announced in this slate, by the way. Like, we know season 2 was ordered. So why didn't he talk about it here? I don't know. That was a little strange to me.
That's actually a good point. And listen, Waller, whoever's gonna be in this group, Creature Commandos as well, you can lump into it, and even the big guys that we're gonna discuss in a little bit. We're gonna have to have Jose on, or the DC version of Jose. I mean, Jose does have DC.
Oh, Jose, yeah, Jose is the DC version of Jose.
It's like it's like you go to the other multiverses. He's like the Scarlet Witch. He's a Nexus being. He's the Jose Young.
He's waiting for
all the cinematic, in all the comics.
I was texting with him today. I'll read some texts when we get to some of the later announcements that I really didn't know anything about. I texted him and was like, "Give me a little blurb on this." So
Jose will. I like
it. Jose's spirit will be heard on this podcast. The next one. This is the true beginning of the DCU, according to James Gunn. Superman Legacy, written by James Gunn and also likely to be directed by James Gunn, although that's not confirmed yet. This is not an origin story. They stressed that. This is just a story about young Superman. And the way they described him gave me hope, because they were like, he's the true symbol of the American way and hope and justice. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're speaking my language. I want a bright, joyful Superman movie where he's throwing punches, but he's also saving kittens from trees, and he's saving a plane from going down. And then at the end of the movie, everyone smiles, and it was a good time, not snapping necks and crying, and the city's burnt down, Let's give us a happy Superman movie. That is indicative of like the Christopher Reeve Supermans.
Yeah, I don't need to see Superman being born. I don't need to see him leave his planet. I don't need to see him die. Don't do anything crazy. Again, this could be a fucking. I'm gonna go with another like football analogy here, like a slant over the middle. Maybe you take it to the house, but just something that's gonna keep the ball moving. Now, Superman is a bigger deal. This is going, like you said in the blog, could set up the entire cinematic universe if you hit it, and if you fucking blow it, everyone's gonna be like, well, this is going to be a problem, and it's gonna just like be that lingering stink. It's like someone farted and it just smells the whole house up, and it's not leaving. The name is perfect though. Superman Legacy.
Yeah.
This is to quote the most tired takes in the world. This is Superman's legacy movie right now. We've had such a disaster with them, basically my whole life, let alone Robbie's whole life, that I feel like they're going to have to absolutely crush it. And I feel like James Gunn, every time he opens up his MacBook and he sees Superman Legacy, like the word legacy, I'm sure gets him hyped, gets him probably a little scared, and he just goes to town, man. And it's going to be interesting to see how it goes, mixing in that humor. Like Superman, I don't find as a funny character, but I feel like he can lend himself to. He's such a cornball too, right? Like there's a lot of fun to be had with that.
Definitely. And I talked to Jose about this one. He really, really wants it to be focused on All-Star Superman, which I believe James Gunn has posted like a Instagram story of him reading fairly recently. So I think that's a pretty good chance that we're going to get a little All-Star Superman.
What's that mean?
It was a comic book, All-Star Superman. It was just an arc, and it's one of DC's most famous arcs of all time.
I thought it was like All-Star Superman is just him being Superman, like All-Star version,
Super
where
Saiyan.
He's just dunking on motherfuckers, like basically in the comics. So I'm like, okay, yeah, like I don't need to see Superman showing any weakness. Like let's fuck some shit up here and have some fun. So seeing him in the Midwest and all that stuff, I was thinking about this, and I think about this whenever these, especially the DC franchises over the years. How scared would you be writing this stuff down, knowing I don't even know. Like our boy Waldron must, God bless whatever fucking, he might be on some sort of a sponsor that might be returning to the podcast in a few months. Whatever it takes to make you go through the days with all that anxiety going through your head, man. Woo!
That dude's writing Secret Wars. Like, oh my God, that anxiety. Holy shit, I can't imagine. But yeah, Superman Legacy. I don't know who they're going to cast as Superman, but I hope he's wearing the red tighty whities.
Yes.
I guess they wouldn't be tighty whities then. The red underwear. You know what I'm talking about, the underoos.
I loved his line too. He said, Henry Cavill, he goes, he got dicked around by a lot of people, including former teams at this company. Like, just called it like it was. Even his tweet, it said, here are a few of our plans, up, up, and away. Like, that's just fun. And he says it right to your face. It's not an interview. It's not all written down. It is fucking him to you. It's as real as it gets online. Like Dave says, all you need is an iPhone to make a video. I don't know, it felt a little more real, just hearing it from his mouth, talking to us instead of talking to someone else.
Now, the next project is something we both wanted when we were putting together our slates. It's a Lanterns show on HBO Max. This is something we were both like, we need a Lanterns show. It'd be amazing. I said it'd be great if it was Game of Thrones style, but James Gunn is saying it's actually True Detective style. What? How? What does that mean? It's going to be Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, and they're going to be kind of like detectives watching over Earth, and then a mystery unravels that folds into the larger DCU. Sounds awesome.
I think when we said with the Green Lantern stuff, I was like, all right, Game of Thrones. It's like, I don't want to like put those kind of expectations on it. I mean, throwing True Detective, and we're talking True Detective season 1, obviously, when we're talking True Detective, that ain't Game of Thrones level. But when you're doing just single seasons of shit and you're talking cop, like that is some heavy, heavy stuff. And listen, I don't know if this is just me, but we hear it's on HBO Max. Over the years, that was like, okay, that's the streaming service. It's the same exact thing as HBO. I understand that. But it always like, it didn't carry the weight of hearing HBO back in the day. You're like, shh, oh, you're like, oh, we're talking 9 p.m. slot. I will say this. Succession coming back. Last of Us absolutely crushing. House of the Dragon, bringing Thrones back to like relevance. HBO Max now has a little gravitas with it, right? It's like you hear it. There's only a few like streaming, like you hear Netflix, like, oh, this is gonna have a whole bunch of war chest behind it. Disney Plus is fucking Disney, and now I feel like HBO Max is getting to that point, and I'm sure that they're hoping to God people see it like that, so they can charge you whatever the hell they charge you for it. And we wanted Lantern to have a big Green Lantern to have a big like spot if it wasn't a movie. Being the first big TV show on all this shit, which I mean, the other two are going to be all right, but I feel like this is, if it goes Superman, then this 1, 2. I'm not even going to use a football analogy. You guys can figure it out on your own. Put it in the comments. I don't know, but there's a lot of ways you can go. Very important here.
And bringing in 2 lanterns is brilliant. Like there was so much debate of, oh, when they do a Green Lantern, which lantern do you want them to use? He's like, we're using 2. How about both? How about that?
I was gonna say like the GIF. Why not both? Little girl.
The Authority is the next one, and this is the one that I had to text Jose about because I was like, I know fucking nothing about the Authority. The Wildstorm comics from the 90s. I just know they had crazy, vibrant artwork from my guy Jim Lee, my favorite artist, who did the Batman that's on my arm over here. So I texted Jose about this, and I said, what do you know about the Wildstorm comics? I assumed he would know something about them, and of course he did. He said, there's not enough space in this text breakdown. There's not enough space in this text for me to break down Wildstorm. It was a creator-owned publishing company that did Gen 13, The Authority, X Machine, Stormwatch, Wildcats, etc. Very 90s, very over the top. No idea how Gunn is going to pull off The Authority as a movie. Now, he did say this is his passion project, which made me think, is this his Guardians of the Galaxy of DC? Who knows?
Yep, I was trying to avoid saying that. So you said it. So technically,
I said it. I took it out of your mouth. I said it.
I appreciate that. The Authority. I'm looking at the pictures here. It's like we have a kind of a Silver Surfer looking chick. Have a guy that kind of looks like Cyclops without his glasses on, like a fake Batman. I have no idea what to expect. However, looking at these guys and realizing I don't know what any of them are like, what they do, that also made me realize that I felt the same way about all the people that were in Black Adam, which I think was my favorite part of the movie. Was that what was not the Justice,
JSA?
Yeah, exactly, the JSA. I liked all those characters, so I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, I feel like they can pull off these characters I know nothing about, and I'll care about them immensely right off the bat. So
and the way he described them in the video, he said they're like superheroes who view the world as broken, and they'll do anything in their way to fix that or something. Kind of made it seem like they're superheroes who break the rules a little bit.
I want to know how the name of the Authority came. Like, I feel like there's gonna be a good origin story, maybe a little funny of how it came up with. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, you find out how that's all done. Like the Authority is something like a group of like 8-year-olds or idiots in college call like their crew of guys. It's like the Syndicate with Dave and Elio and Big Cat, right?
I was gonna say it was a wrestling faction. Like that was like the Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Like they were the Authority for a while.
Was it really? That was the exact name of the Authority?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
The next one, I said I wanted the Lantern show to be a little Game of Thrones focused, but actually the Wonder Woman show is going to be Game of Thrones focused. It's actually taking place before Wonder Woman was born, and it's called Paradise Lost. It takes place on Paradise Island, one of the cooler aspects of the Wonder Woman movies, actually. And yeah, James Gunn said this one's kind of in that Game of Thrones vein, and it's an island with all women. So I said in my blog, this one is the one most likely to get review bombed before it comes out on Rotten Tomatoes.
Like I hope Rotten Tomatoes has that thing on locked up. Literally, you try to hit a review, your IP address gets like tracked, and you're not allowed to review anything because those people are getting mad just reading this. This isn't Game of Thrones. There's no girls in Game of Thrones. I think we knew at one point there was be like a girl-centric project, and we didn't know if there would be a Wonder Woman movie, show, whatever it may be. I always was interested about that island. And I'm going to say as much as I can say it without getting bonked here, but I always like going to the island. I always like seeing what's going on. So this seems like it could work. Paradise Lost. That feels like it's like an 80s. That was Hulk Hogan in Paradise Lost.
That does sound like an 80s movie. Yeah.
Thunder. What's it? Something Thunder was a Hulk
Thunder Road. Or Thunder. No, you're thinking of Three Ninjas.
No,
he was in the third Three Ninjas movie. It was like
Thunder in Paradise. 1993. I would have said it came out earlier.
What's the third Three Ninjas?
Three Ninjas Part 3?
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever saw
Hulk Hogan's in it.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Three Ninjas Kick Back. That's 2, isn't it? No. Knuckle Up?
No. Three Ninjas movies.
Didn't see this coming when we started.
Yeah, here it is. Three Ninjas.
High
Noon at Mega Mountain.
That's part 4, Bob. Come on, you should know that.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Three Ninjas 4. But yeah, Hulk Hogan plays he has a funny character name, Dave Dragon.
I kind of remember this poster of Hulk Hogan. He's like coming through the poster and not like that. He's like ripping through the poster. That would be a hell of a thing.
What, brother?
Rocky Loves Emily. That's what I think of when I hear Three Ninjas. Our boy Nicky the Good is obsessed with Three Ninjas. I think he's like proposed a shirt, multiple Barstool shirts with like Three Ninjas themes. I'm like, Nick, a very niche market we're marketing to right here. And I love the first Three Ninjas.
Same. I was real into it as a kid, but Paradise Lost, that show sounds cool. All right, the next one, my personal favorite on the slate, The Brave and the Bold, introducing the DCU's Batman, not played by Robert Pattinson, and Damian Wayne, aka Robin. Damian Wayne, if you're not aware, is Batman and Talia al Ghul's son. And in the comic, in the Batman and Robin comic with Damian Wayne that this is based on, it's written by Grant Morrison. Batman was sent back in time by Darkseid to like the dawn of man, like to caveman times.
Okay.
So Dick Grayson takes up the mantle. Like Alfred tells him, he's like, the world needs a Batman. We need a Batman. Dick Grayson is older and he's more established at this point. So he's like, fuck it. I think Damian Wayne, this psycho assassin who Talia al Ghul raised, needs a better moral compass here. And he steps up into that Batman role. He's like a more relaxed Batman. He's a more chill Batman. In the movie, it sounds like they're kind of axing that, and it's going to be Bruce Wayne and Damian Wayne and more of a father-son dynamic. But James Gunn teased this is only the start of the Bat family in the DCU.
First of all, I saw Damian Wayne, and I was like, Damian Wayne's is in this? And I'm like, how does that work? Robin? And everyone seem so excited about it. And I was very, very confused. This is all starting to make a lot more sense now. Now, in the picture here, I saw our boys at LCB tweeted out, Batman's looking at like some blood on the floor, but like Robin has like a sword. It looks he's about to like swing at him. Like, do they fight each other, or is this Robin kind of an asshole bratty kid? What am I dealing with?
Exactly. Here? He's an asshole bratty kid that you learn to love as he matures a little bit. Okay. And oh my God, his character arc is so good. Grant Morrison is just one of the all-time greats when it comes to comics. And this is one of my favorite comics ever. This was a comic I read in high school, and it's fairly recent too. Like I think it started in 2009, his arc. So it's like they're going back to fairly recent stories. I mean, we'll get to one later on that was just a story from last year. And I love that James Gunn really highlighted that in his announcement video. Like he actually said the specific comics he was basing the movies on, and they showed images of them. Because I think that could totally help comic sales and comic stores and whatnot. People get interested. They want to know what the movie's about. They go check out the books.
Yeah, I love that stuff. And I mean, Jose had with like the donating the comics too. I think that's one of those like it's just good, clean fun. Good, clean American fun
Yeah.
right there. I love them. I have some comics in my kids' room, and I love when one of them just picks it up. Even AJ, who can't read a lick, which is one of the funniest things. He goes, Dad, I don't know how to read. Can you read this for me? Just made me laugh. Like, yeah, you need my help, dude. You need my help. You have to listen to me. I have to say this. This has been a big sense of discussion here for a big topic of discussion for a long time, and I'm happy it's finally done. This isn't the way I wanted it because I did say I want one Batman in my life. I can handle one Batman mentally because now I'm thinking timelines, different cinematic universes. I don't know what's going up. I was very happy to have all this DC stuff kind of shoved away the old stuff. We bring in the new stuff, probably going to keep some of the good new stuff, get rid of or keep some of the good old bad stuff, get rid of the bad old bad stuff. And now we still got 2 goddamn Batmans. And it's just a lot to deal with. And I know there's plenty of people that can handle that. I just was very excited to have one Batman. I guess, though, this character, like, could Pattinson not handle this character? Or I guess this character is going to be much different than.
I think it's a matter of the universe. I think it's the universe. Like Pattinson's universe doesn't make as much sense for a Robin and a Bat family. And if they want to do a crazier rogues gallery, you could have Clayface in this universe, whereas he might not make as much sense in the Pattinson universe or something like that.
So that's interesting. So what they said was, because I'm sure they mapped this all out. I don't know if they used a whiteboard. I'm gonna have to figure out how they did this.
Oh, they used a whiteboard. They no doubt. Yeah.
Show us the goddamn whiteboard, Gunn. So at one point they were like, all right, what are we doing with Batman? Once the Superman problem, he's like, listen, I'm gonna write it. It's gonna be legacy. It's gonna be fucking awesome. We're dealing with all-star Superman right here. We're doing the good shit. When it comes to Batman, I want to know how close he was to just saying, all right, Pattinson's Batman is going to be our Batman. And then whenever Reeves is done with his movies, we're bringing that Batman in, whether he's a sulking bitch Batman, whether he's a fucking whatever happens to him along the ways. But it seems like they really want this Batman. And if they're going to they have to know it's kind of crazy to have 2 of the same character. Is that not a little crazy? This is coming from someone that was, I don't know, in my little Marvel land. Like, I didn't have to worry about, it was the same Spider-Man going between movies. And granted, I know Sony was like, you have to use our Spider-Man. But if they had figured out a way to have just some dude in a suit without showing Tom Holland, I would have been like, that kind of sucks. It's only one thing. So
it's a little crazy. They are trying to get ahead of that by saying the Batman universe and the Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker universe, are Elseworld stories. They're now classified as Elseworlds. That's like an Elseworld story, and it's its own thing. And those will be for the one-offs. So they're still saying they're, I think, open to more of those type one-off things.
So if Peacemaker calls in the Justice League and fucking Batman shows up, it's going to be this Brave and Bold Batman is the guy showing up.
I believe so, yes.
If I show them Pattinson Batman, they're going to be like, what the fuck is Edward from Twilight doing here?
Yes.
That's not even a thing. Okay. So, I mean, I can get used to it. And listen, I know there's probably some like diehard DC guys that are mad at me. I'm just talking myself through this. We're in this together now.
We'll talk through it. Yeah.
I'm very excited. My guy, Bob, if you're excited about it, I'm excited. You were excited about the Batman and that whole storyline. This storyline, 1 to 10, where is it in the Bob Fox? How do you feel about it?
It's a good question. Like, if The Long Halloween is a 10 for me, if The Dark Knight Returns is a 10 for me, The Killing Joke is a 10 for me, Hush is a 10 for me, this is probably like a 7.5, 8.
Okay, I could live with a 7.58. I wish you just said 8, but 7.58. We'll round to 7.
Well, I'm trying to think back to it. I haven't read the actual arc since I was in high school, but the villains it brings in are so like unique. Like Professor Pig is one of them. Look up Professor Pig right now. He's terrifying. God. He sounds silly, but he's like a fucking butcher that just wears a pig mask. He looks like something out of a horror movie. Like he could be in the Pattinson universe, to be honest.
Either way, it's PYG, which I don't even know. I'm seeing different. I'm seeing one Professor Pig where he looks like a butler. Oh no, yeah, this is some crazy shit right here.
Yeah.
I'll
throw it on the screen so the people could see it in post. But Professor Pig, you don't want to fuck with him.
That's out of the fact that is in this universe. I would have said this universe wouldn't have a Professor Pig because it seems like it's gonna be a little more comic booky.
You would think a little lighter because the Brave and the Bold also represents like the lighter side of Batman. That was when they did a Batman animated series called Batman the Brave and the Bold. It was like really light and for kids, like really like Fisher Price level bright. I don't think this will be that level, but I think it's going to be colorful. I think, hell, maybe we'll get Batman in a gray suit. I think you do Batman in a fucking gray suit. Leave the black to Pattinson and maybe do fucking gray and blue, navy blue. Bring that into the live action universe. I'd love it.
See, guys, this is what you're getting in the basement now that we have this DC universe. You have a guy that is like picking apart the little colors of the Batman suit. This is a guy who's watched the is it 60s show? Is it from the 60s?
Yeah.
This is a guy who was raised on the 60s.
Yeah, and bring back the yellow symbol too, like the Keaton, the yellow.
This is the basement's going through the roof when just based on this, I have the fucking leading expert on old school crazy Batman stuff as my host here. So we are going to be in perfect. Portnoy loves Star Wars. We're going to go see Star Wars with Portnoy. This is really the year of the basement right now. It's truly remarkable. I have to say this is the one thing that I have to say about this that disappoints me. I always loved that, like the Batman series. At least I feel like it always happened like this. It may not be the case. I feel like the last movie of all the Batman series would always be like, and now, like, you would learn who Robin was, or there'd be enough hints. You're like, all right, the next movie's gonna be Robin's movie, and then it just never happened. So I almost love that fucking that Robin would be on the poster, but like we never actually meet Robin until the last movie, and then it's like, all right, this is when we're actually gonna meet him, and then just never happens, reboot, whatever it may be. It was one of like the most frustrating things. The amount of fucking time you took. I just want to see Robin. Chris O'Donnell was, I think, the only Robin I can remember, right? Joseph Gordon-Levitt was supposed to be a Robin, right?
So not really. Like the ending of the movie, spoilers for The Dark Knight Rises if you haven't seen it. It's 11 years old at this point, but spoilers. At the end of the movie, he goes and there's a bag that Bruce left for him. Everyone assumes Bruce is dead. And the woman goes to give him the duffel bag, or he gives his name. He's like, my name's Tim Blake or whatever. It was like Tim Drake. It's like Tim Blake. And she's like, nothing. And he goes, oh, try my real name. He gives her a card. And she goes, oh, you should use your real name. I like that. Robin. And it was like a little, like, I love Nolan. I love those movies more than anything. Don't get me, but it's a little, in the words of Rocky Raccoon, it's a bit much. Like, why didn't they go with Dick Grayson? Why didn't she say like, oh, hey, try Dick Grayson? If he just said that, we would have all got it and been like, oh shit, like he's Batman's successor. But I don't think they ever intended on actually making anything with Joseph Gordon-Levitt after that. It was just like, the story was that Batman will always survive.
Hey, listen, there's fucking idiots like me, casual fans. It was like, oh shit, we're getting a Robin movie, if not a Batman and Robin movie. You guys can't be. So yeah, maybe if you had thrown that in there, but I still would have thought it if they used it in. What if she had said like, all right, Robin, nope, still don't see anything. But you know what? You're by yourself. How about I name you Han Solo?
that would have driven me into insanity. That would have created the Joker in me.
that actually would have been a better twist than the actual Solo movie when they did that.
Speaking of the Batman, though, the Batman Part 2 is confirmed for October 3rd, 2025. No new information about this one. We've said pretty much all there is to say about the Batman Part 2, but I just wanted to mention that this is confirmed as still happening.
I kind of would love if they just named it the Batman Part 2. Do you think they'll do that, or do you think they're going to?
Oh, yeah, they said that's the name.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that we're going to keep it going. Again, Gotham is flooded.
And it's not Part 2 with a numeral 2. It's II, which makes it way more dramatic.
Roman numerals. There's a reason the Super Bowl goes with the Roman numerals. It just carries itself.
WrestleMania, yeah.
Godfather? I think Godfather is.
Yes, I think so.
Shit, that could really
look up the Godfather Part 2 right now.
Yeah, I'm going.
I think it is Roman numerals.
By the way, Godfather one guy. This guy right here. How about you?
Godfather insists upon itself guy.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We won't get into that. It is Roman numerals. It is Roman numerals. I was way off. I don't know why I even questioned it. I am embarrassed for even questioning it. So yeah, the Batman Part 2, and I saw in the blog you said maybe get Mr. Freeze or Poison Ivy in it.
Yeah, I said if Gotham's flooded, maybe half the city's frozen over, half the city's overgrown. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
like that. Matt Reeves did say we're also focusing more on Bruce Wayne in this movie, which some people criticize the first movie for not having enough Bruce Wayne.
So, yep, they'll fix that, and we'll have Penguin, right? I imagine Penguin has to
Yeah.
play a much bigger role because he wasn't as big in the first one I thought he was going to be. But
And
that,
they
yeah.
said his series is going to tie directly into Batman too.
Was there anything about any of the series that we're not sure what didn't get greenlit? Okay.
No, unfortunately not. And not like dates for a lot of the series, which I understand. He doesn't want to put a date on everything and then have to delay. The next series that we can talk about is Booster Gold. Booster Gold is a character that I've never known a lot about, but if you grew up around comics, I feel like you always have like loose issues of Booster Gold lying around, or you see them in long boxes or short boxes in comic shelves. His story is that he's a loser, an absolute loser from the future who uses future technology to go back to the past and become a superhero just so people will like him. James Gunn said this is telling the story of imposter syndrome through a superhero show. Sounds pretty funny. And speaking of things that sound 80s, like Paradise Lost, the plot of this sounds like an 80s movie, like Back to the Future style type thing.
That's a good call. That's a good call. I have a long-standing theory that Babe Ruth actually is from the future, and he basically could have went anywhere, anytime he wanted. And he's like, if I go back to like the 1910s or whatever, I could just become the best baseball player on earth. And like, I imagine
still be eating good.
And like, I imagine Babe Ruth had his way with I think Derek Jeter's life was great. Babe Ruth didn't look like Derek Jeter though, so he couldn't really do some of the stuff. So he's like, I'm just going to go back to and hit more home runs in entire teams, and then I'll get all the dames I want, right? And all the hot dogs I want, and I'll still hit a million home runs, and I'll make the Yankees like a fucking dynasty. So Booster
all
Gold.
the suitors in the world.
Exactly.
But yeah, Booster Gold seems like a fun show, and it's a show, not movie, which is interesting.
Now, a lot of these. Are these all live? What's the breakdown? Live action cartoons? Do we know? Is it all live
Only
action?
the first one's a cartoon.
Okay, only the first one's
the rest will be Creature Commando is a cartoon. The rest will be live action. The next live action movie is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. This is the one I referred to earlier that's based on a story from last year, written by Tom King. I asked Jose if he read that story from last year. He said, yes, it is amazing. Anything Tom King touches turns to gold. He is a top 5 writer in the genre right now.
What do you remember? I think it was Secret. It was one of the invasions.
Oh, it was Secret Invasion. That made him just like start breathing sound. Deep.
Yeah, it just started breathing deep.
He's like, oh yeah, oh god, oh, I don't even know where to start.
Oh, man. Yeah. The fact you knew exactly what I was talking about, that's how you know this is some good podcasting right here, is that we're on the same fucking page. So if he's talking about this, and I imagine he
hyped it up big time. Yeah.
All right. Says Supergirl is, if the Wonder Woman one doesn't get killed by Rotten Tomatoes beforehand, this will probably be the other one. But I feel like maybe they could fill in some. I don't know how this all works in terms of timelines, but they could probably fill in some of the Superman backstory or just Krypton stuff through Supergirl as well. So then they can let Superman just be awesome and then kind of set some stuff up. So I don't really know much about Supergirl at all. So
she's awesome.
I got
some Supergirl comics on the shelf behind me. I got into them because of the Supergirl CW show. All the CW shows, no offense to the fans of the Berlanti CW shows, are a bit cheesy, a bit campy, corny. They're villain of the week format, changes every week, whatever. Supergirl, for whatever reason, I went on a marathon of years ago, and I was like, this is pretty fucking enjoyable. I went through like 2 seasons in a weekend when I had the flu. Melissa Benoist was the reason why it was so watchable, the lead character. She was so good. I wish they could just recast her in the role. But James Gunn also noted that she grew up on a piece of Krypton that was just floating in space as opposed to Earth, which is, I think, a different story for her. Because in the show, she grows up on Earth. They send her to Earth after Superman to kind of watch over him because he's a baby and she's a little older. In this, she grows up on a rock of Krypton and watches everyone around her perish. So she's like jaded and hardened and a different Supergirl than we've ever seen before.
Slightly different. She's blonde, right? She's
yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to think if I've seen her like in the comic books. Oh, AJ's making a second appearance in Barstool podcast this week. What's up, buddy? Excited for Superman?
He was a highlight of the draft.
Yes, he was climbing on my head and everything. Yep, that's Uncle Robbie right there, Uncle Robbie Fox. And Robbie Fox's middle name is Calvin.
It's not Calvin, it's Matthew, but
it's Matthew,
close.
buddy. You remember it? Oh yeah, I don't know if we even said that on the podcast, but he randomly asked what your name was because I have another Robbie in my neighborhood. I go, no, I'm going to see my friend Robbie Fox in the city for work, and he's like, "What's his middle name?" I was floored, and I was like, "I don't know." And Robert Matthew, Robbie with a B with an IE. Which, by the way, on that podcast, I talked to Eddie, and he says he does not like Eddie's with a Y. There's an Eddie Street with a Y, he doesn't go on it.
Yeah, no, you can't. I grew up. There was a Robbie Road with a Y. Don't go on it.
Don't go on it.
Yeah.
And I think, or it might have been Chief, and they said like they had their dog shit on it. That's the only thing that don't go on Eddie Street. And Robbie Road is no bueno either.
The final project on the Gods and Monsters slate is a horror project.
Gods and Monsters. God damn, that sounds good.
It does. It does. This is Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing, in my opinion, is one of the coolest looking characters in comic books. His character design is so badass, so scary. It lends itself to a horror origin story. I wrote in my blog, like I could see the opening of the movie already, like a bunch of raiders with guns, like wading into the swamp and in the water waist deep. And then one drops and then the next drops and then they all start shooting. And then you don't hear any gunfire because they all got pulled under. This movie writes itself essentially.
So Swamp Thing was a cartoon back in the 90s that I watched here and there. It would be on like, I feel like it was on like channel, well, I'm just going to say the number, PIX or what is it? Like a CW11.
Oh, Pix 11, yeah.
Pix WB. I don't even know what it was, but it was like not on Fox, NBC, but it wasn't on cable. And I remember the song, Swamp Thing. It was basically Wild Thing, but for Swamp Thing. And I was like, oh, he seems like a pretty badass character. Now, think about Swamp Thing, and I don't know how he relates. And I feel like he's not a tier 1, 2, or 3 villain, though, right?
No, like he's had his run-ins with. He had a run-in with Batman, I think, when Poison Ivy like overgrew the whole city. But no, not tier 1. But James Gunn might make him, that in this. But he hasn't been that before. I don't think.
He looks like there's a lot of different looks for him that, again, he's the fucking 90s when they could bring that guy back too because it was cool as shit. And it's like the other guys in it, they almost looked like, for the other 90s kids out there, they'll remember, they seemed like the villains from Captain Planet. It was like they kind of were pig face and they were just straight scumbags. But I would have liked the Luthor. I like that there is.
We might get him in the Superman movie too.
Yeah, I think so. Is Swamp Thing a villain? Or is he kind of like...
he goes back and forth, but no, not always.
Okay. So I like that we're getting a guy that is at least gray in terms of where he stands.
Oh, and they stress that. They put a statement out. Like I saw it in the Hollywood Reporter where they were like, we want you to know in the DC universe, this isn't monsters come down from space, big beam in the sky, and the heroes win in the end. There's gray, there's morality, there's backstabbing, there's drama, there's politics. They're like really trying to stress we're not making formulaic superhero movies over here, which I love. That's obviously criticism against superhero movies at this point, especially by the people that don't like them. They say they're all the same. Well, make that change. Make a horror movie with Swamp Thing. Make a Game of Thrones style Wonder Woman show. Make a True Detective style Green Lantern show in space, however the fuck that happens. Like, I like all of the announcements that came through. I could see a path to the Justice League. We've got Batman, we've got Superman, we've got Supergirl, we've got Green Lantern. You're teasing Wonder Woman by telling us, the island is out there. What if she's born at the end of the first season? Something like that. So I see a path to the Justice League, and I see a path to hope for the DC universe.
That's all you could ask for. And that's kind of the same thing with, I think, Marvel and even Star Wars. Like, Star Wars always just felt so formulaic, and then Andrew came in. It's like, no, you can do it like this, and DC can do the same thing. And the fact that they have, there's probably a lot of things weighing Marvel down, just old characters or different arcs they already had started or where they plan on going on that goddamn whiteboard I want to see, Feige. DC, they're starting with a clean slate for the most part. So it's kind of sweet. They can kind of do whatever they want and be the change you want to see in the world. Right. So if they want to make superhero movies, these 40 things, and how great would it be if James Gunn was like, I'm just trying to shut that fucker Cameron up before Avatar 3 comes out. He's nothing to criticize. He'll have to call on Marvel, be like, DC, you're cool.
Yeah.
So, do you think we ever get to the point where it's almost like WWE versus WCW back in the Monday Night Wars, where they're taking cheap shots at each other? I would love it. I mean, the fact that there is like that shared bond with Gunn and Marvel, but
yeah, probably not the cheap shots, but in terms of like which one is better, fans arguing, I hope so. Oh my God, that'd be amazing for the basement.
You blogged. You had a blog last year. It was something like DC had the better year than Marvel or something like that.
Yeah.
Like just things like that, where it's like the best comic book movie of the year was actually DC or something. That would be huge. So, shit. Superman is 25, right?
Yeah. So we got 2 years.
And Avengers is 25 too,
starts,
right?
Yeah.
Woo, boy, that's going to be that is 9.
The Batman's 25.
9:50 p.m. Monday night, and both main events are going off, and it's like, who's going to have the better one? Oh boy, I can't wait for that. So this is exciting, man. I'm excited for it. How would you rate the unveil in terms of the announcement? I mean, not like the theater of it all, but just like the announcements and the quality.
Yeah. I don't want to seem too greedy, so I want to say like B+, A-. And I know I'm not leaving much room at the top there, but like, what was the one thing I wanted the most? A Bat Family. They announced that. And what was the next thing I wanted? Like a new Superman movie. We knew we were getting that, but they announced it. What was the next thing? Like a Lanterns TV show. They announced it. Like, I feel like I got so much of the stuff that I was asking for that I can't be greedy and tell him he had a bad announcement. It was all the stuff I wanted.
Yep, because I'd say it's like a B+. There's going to be shows that I'll probably, or movies or what projects I'm going to just forget are coming. I'll be like, oh yeah, the dude from the future that someone compared to Babe Ruth, and then the Waller, the cartoon, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you got the Superman, you got Batman, you have some sort of like, I guess Wonder Woman won't be in there first, but the Lantern stuff is kind of the thing that like it brings it to at least a B+, because they're there, and it's I have high hopes for it, maybe aspirations. I hope it's just good, and I'm happy that they're at least taking the shot. That's all you can ask. Take the fucking shot.
Take the shot. You miss 100% of the shots you never take. That's what Michael Scott says. All right, now let's get into The Last of Us, episode 3.
The most underrated thing of that whiteboard is that it says Wayne Gretzky, and I'm pretty sure Gretzky is misspelled. I always love that thing. I think the Z is before the or after the K. It's just before the T. I don't remember what it is, but it always made me laugh.
Before we get into The Last of Us episode 3, actually, we're going to talk to you about the Barstool Sports Store today. That's the ad we're doing today. It's hard times in the basement, as Dusty Rhodes would say. But we're telling you about the Barstool Store. We got merch on there. We got cool merch on there. You could actually go to the store, hit the brands page, drop down, and click My Mom's Basement. That's all the merch we have. And that directly supports the basement. You know, it doesn't put money in our pocket, but it basically puts like goodwill in our pocket with the company. They look at that and they're like, oh, look, that they're selling merch. We got nice stuff on there too.
It takes Dave's finger off the trigger ever so lightly with the basement. That's what it does.
A lot of it's designed by our guy Nathan Hurst. Shout out Nathan Hurst. We got to get something new for like maybe the spring summer. We'll have a spring summer collection or something that's, I don't know, Ant-Man related, Kang merch. Kang merch.
We're gonna have to get into the Kang Man for sure, because
shout out our guy Johnny Gargano coming out at the Royal Rumble dressed as Kang, by the way.
Oh, unfucking believable. What a goddamn move. Because I'm looking at the things here. We have 2 House of the Dragon and we have a Stranger Things. Like, that's 2022 time. We have to roll the nerd calendar to the new year, which again, we have a lot of shit. But like, we can kind of guess what Kang is gonna do, but if you go to that movie and you get a good design off of that, we can rock and roll. So
a Kang Fu shirt.
I would buy that
in the comics. There's a comic where he kicks Spider-Man in the face and he says Kang Fu, and Jose is like really rooting for that to happen in the movie.
Oh, I've been asking for that ever since I heard Kang was coming. I was like, I need this, and I put the comic strip. I like that'll probably get taken down by Disney before we even finish the upload. Yeah. But I would love just to have that fucking panel up on a shirt, even if it's for like 24 hours.
I did ask for, and this got shot down, the way we did Santa riding a dragon for our Christmas sweater. I said, can we have the Lucky Charms leprechaun riding the Hulk for St. Patrick's Day? And they were like, no, absolutely not. That's 2 trademarks.
Would you like Baby Yoda in the picture as well?
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to do to us,
I
Rob?
did ask for Baby Yoda stuff too. That got shot down as well. All right, let's get into The Last of Us.
Man, Barstool change,
3.
man. Used to be the Wild West out here.
The Last of Us episode 3 was one of the more unexpectedly emotional pieces of media you could ever consume, because at least with other things, you go into movies and you know it's a sad movie going in most of the time. All right, this is a drama that's going to make me cry. You can tell by the trailer. This one kind of just takes a detour from the Joel and Ellie story, and it tells the story of Bill and Frank, played by Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett. And these are Emmy Award worthy performances by both of them. The romance, the friendship, the companionship, the heartbreak, all of it. It was unbelievable. I said it was one of the few times where I've seen a TV show divert from the main story and nobody's complaining. Nobody's saying, oh my God, go back to the main story, or the flashbacks, Like, this is one of the few shows where the flashbacks are as good as the real story. Just an unbelievable episode of television.
The people that made Book of Boba Fett are like, yeah, we fucked that up. We could have done this a lot better. Huh? These guys crushed the flashbacks that we could have do. Thank God no one's got into a flashback. There's no back to tanks in this fucking universe.
No,
is there? Okay,
no back to
thank
tanks.
God. I can't do this. I can't do that anymore. I mean, Robbie, what the fuck are we doing to me here? I mean, first you have the daughter die in the first episode. Then you have Tess die. I got fucking zombies jump scaring me. I'm watching on mute with the captions on in daylight. With one eye open still because I'm nervous. And then I'm like, and it kind of just settles me in. And then it's like, no, and they're like, they're feeling my chest. I'm like, oh, you're feeling my heartbeat. Feels nice. And then I just realized they're slowly carving my goddamn heart out. That was fucking unbelievable. And they're 3 for 3 in terms of just fucking my day up, man. They fucking 2 characters didn't even have the faintest idea they existed other than, the radio comment. But even then, I'm like, oh, wait a second. That might be the Bill and Frank guys. I think that's their names, right? And by the end, I'm like, I love Bill and Frank. They're so different. What the fuck, man? Now, in the games, and listen, the biggest piece of advice that you gave me that I can relay is to watch some YouTube videos kind of summing everything up. My guy, Heavy Spoilers, I think he's by far the best guy on the internet, because he's fucking funny, man. He's legitimately LOL funny. Because some of these other guys, they're really super thorough, they're knowledgeable, they're energetic. But I don't know, man. He just cracks me up. He just has funny ass shit, and it could be like, sometimes it could be a little wrong. He hits it all. So check those out. Heavy Spoilers. He's a diehard fan of the games too. And at the end, he'll do like game spoilers if you've already played the games. But in the beginning, he'll just use people like me who have no idea what's going on. And I had no idea. Like, this isn't even a storyline in the game. I think
Not
Bill and Frank are like, they're broken up. But they
break up. Frank writes him a note that's like, fuck you, I hate you, I
hate you. Yeah.
I can't be around you anymore and all that. But like, this was such a risk too, to be like, hey, for an entire episode, we're going to go away from what everyone knows and loves about the game. But I think they said in the after thing, they said, if it's the same as the game, we'll stick with it. If we think we could write something better than the game, that's when we'll take a risk. And it paid off here. I said, this was like Up, set during the apocalypse, like the first 10 minutes of Up, set during the apocalypse, and then you make it gay and have Ron Swanson and the guy from the first season of The White Lotus in there, which, by the way, Frank, I know you didn't watch The White Lotus, but is played by this guy who played this eccentric New Zealand hotel like host concierge guy in The White Lotus. It was crazy to see him using an American accent and have a beard and all that. It was like a mind fuck. But let's sort of go through the episode, not, piece by piece, but a few bullet points. It starts with Joel and Ellie looking for a car battery. They stop at a Cumberland Farms and they see a Mortal Kombat 2 machine right away. I wanted to ask you, and we might have talked about this on the show before, who was your main Mortal Kombat fighter?
So when I saw that, I like, again, nostalgia just pouring through my veins. I'm a Sub-Zero guy. Always been
same.
A Sub-Zero. Really? Yes.
Yeah. I was Sub-Zero for Halloween when I was 4 in pre-K.
Wow. Okay, so my favorite part about Barstool is, other than the people who we help out, again, make your donations, is just like the origin stories, you find out a little thing about someone. Like Chaps lived with Cajuns for a couple years of his life when he was like in his like late teens or something. I'm like, that makes sense now. Some of the ways you think and some of the things you do. Bob Fox being Sub-Zero when he was 4 and 5 years old. Hence the reason, like you were reading Barstool with 12.
Yeah, probably 12, 13.
So that, like, and again, Bob Fox, I wouldn't say he's a sick, twisted bastard, especially in this group of misfits that we have here. But like, you were sent on a path at a long, your brain basically got the infection very young. So the fact that we're both Sub-Zero guys, I love. Okay. How about Street Fighter 2? Who was your Street Fighter 2 guy?
See, this is going to break your heart. I was never a Street Fighter guy. My brother gave me like a hand-me-down Sega Genesis, and I just had all the games that he had growing up. And I don't think Street Fighter was in there. I think my brother had played Street Fighter over his friend's house or whatever. I think he knows Street Fighter. I was never a Street Fighter guy.
That's fine. Usually it's one or the other, and I'm personally a Street Fighter guy. I love Mortal Kombat as well, but it's like I will buy Street Fighter basically every time it comes out on another goddamn system. I'll buy it. I'll play it
that way with Mortal Kombat, yeah.
And then I'll never play it again, right? Isn't that hilarious how that works? And I actually just saw it was on the Switch for like $12. I was like, I think I'm going to do it again for the 18th time and never actually. I have a fucking Street Fighter machine, the actual arcade game in my house that I never play. I was a Ryu guy, and then if that's taken Ken, if not Ken, Chun-Li. But and again, this is a moment I found out how much I love Barstool, is how Kevin KFC used to always talk about ABACABB, and then go, get over here. And that was the blood code for Mortal Kombat 1, where you could then get the blood and the fatalities and all that stuff.
I was not allowed to play with that when I was 4.
Rob, what are you doing? I heard to get over here, Rob. Don't you be playing with the. I'll do the Mama Fox voice for today. I love that too, where she's like, Melina used to like she eats them up and spits out their bones.
Spits out the bones.
That's exactly what happened.
Now, I thought of you when she is looking down into that fucking crawl space, when she's just looking straight down and you see just a pit of black before she even shines the flashlight. I was like, oh, Clem must be hitting the mute button right about now, because I was expecting an arm to come up through there and grab her or whatever, but you know, it's a little more tame than that.
I was thinking about you too, Bob, because I was saying this fucking asshole has me watching this like a dick. I am terrified right now in a house. I am the man of this house. I have 2 children. I pay the mortgage, and I am just on my couch like, oh, I'm so scared.
She does jump down into that basement and she kills an infected in a creepy scene. She kind of like cuts it first to see what would happen, and then she just stabs it. It's kind of like, it reminded me of like kids playing with a magnifying glass burning ants. Like that's her version of this in this fucked up world.
That is some cold-blooded shit too. And when that thing was
cold-blooded or nice,
well, and
to kill it.
But then at the end, that's when my guy Heavy Spoilers, he's like, he actually takes mercy on her. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess he kind of did do that. She kind of did do that. But I don't know, just something about a kid not even thinking twice when you're cutting out.
That was weird, yeah.
We've grown up in 2 very different worlds, Lady Mormont and I. So I have to start calling her Ellie at some point, but she's gonna be Lady Mormont at least for the rest of the season. I'm sorry. She was like my favorite character of that last Throne season. That was an absolute fucking train wreck. Oh God! Was it like green blood that was coming down from him or something like that?
It was like oozing. Like it almost looked. I thought like a mushroom was about to like pop out.
I'm also not looking forward to just these. I don't know how long we're gonna be in nature, because I know by the end of it, like we're not gonna be walking, but they're walking, and I'm like, what's to say there's not gonna be a bunch of infected just coming out of fucking nowhere? So, and then at night, walking in nature at night during a zombie apocalypse, I got the willies just thinking about it.
There's even winter aspects of the game where that's even scarier. You're in the cold, and now you got to worry about the infected. But then we do the flashback, the big flashback that the whole episode focuses on, to the outbreak yet again. I saw someone tweet, by the way, and I agree with this. I would watch a whole show that's like an anthology series about different people, what they did when the outbreak actually happened in this universe. Because, oh my God, if they're anything like this story, fantastic. Bill was a doomsday prepper, or as he calls himself, a survivalist, and he has the whole town to himself when they're all evacuated. He hid in his basement, and he's living fucking life. He gets the gas, he goes to the Home Depot, gets the electricity cooking. He's literally like making himself meals at home. He's got the lights on and everything. He's living the dream life, essentially.
He's Kevin McAllister after he made his family disappear, except he's an adult version of it.
He's an old Kevin McAllister. He is. With
He's
the traps and everything.
Yeah, he's not watching rubbish or watching and eating junk food or whatever he says. He's actually making good food, but yeah, he can just do whatever he wants. He's setting traps like a son of a bitch, and he's going like just looting. I am not a handyman at all. I am whatever the opposite of handyman, the handlisty man. I am so bad at this shit. But when I go to Home Depot, I just love being like, I can just get whatever I want here. It's just so nice. I couldn't imagine being able to just not have to worry about paying for it and just taking everything right out. That was I love that.
And I think it still smells like a Home Depot too.
Ooh, yeah. Rob did the Italian hands on that one.
Home Depot.
I love the smell of the home. That's like the one thing about me. I'm like, maybe there is a chance I could one day become a handyman because I do enjoy the smell of a good Home Depot. Is it the sawdust?
I think so. It's like the warehouse lumber or something. Yeah.
It's very unique. And Lowe's does have its own smell in its own right. But yeah, there's something odd about it. And then once you get the fertilizer, we could have a whole podcast about Home Depot smell.
We'll do the Home Depot hour next week.
Yeah, exactly. When I saw Swanson though,
I was going to say, Nick Offerman was the perfect casting because, like, this is what Ron Swanson would do if he was in this universe.
They're like, listen, we're just going to have you play Ron. He's like, that sounds good. I'm just honored to be a part of this. I yelled, oh, fuck yeah, when I saw that was him because I forgot he was in the series because I didn't think I'd be watching it at any point because I'm a big pussy that's scared of zombies. So I was like, oh, fuck yeah. He was in Fargo, and he just crushed it.
Oh, was he? I haven't watched that show. The movie, big fan of, but I haven't seen the show. So he has the whole town to himself until Frank shows up. Frank falls into one of his traps, a hole in the ground, and they have that tense scene at first where he pulls a gun to him and he's asking, are you bit? Are you infected? He lets him in the town, even though he doesn't want to at first. He's like, every fucking bum will come after me if I let you in. Lets him shower, goes downstairs. They eat a meal together. He's got a nice bottle of wine that he serves with him. He's like, oh, I didn't take you as the kind of man who would pair this wine. And we start getting hints of like, oh, they're getting along, aren't they? And then they really bond over the Linda Ronstadt on piano. And her Spotify streams must be going through the roof this week after she was used in this scene.
I was on there.
Yeah. And they start kissing. And before you know it, they're a couple. They're a thing. They go up into the bedroom. Obviously, Nick Offerman's character, Bill, is a little more hesitant. He's never done this before. But something about it, you're watching it and you're like, I'm happy for these crazy kids.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, I'm like, all right. I'm like, how is it? Oh, okay. Like, hey, a warm body's a warm body, you know? It's been a crazy
the apocalypse.
Run.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
Nothing. It's okay.
Get after it, kids.
Zombie apocalypse. And who cares if it is, right? My guy, Ron, he was eating good and chopping wood, though. He was living the life for a while there, right? I loved when he watches the zombie get shot. And he's like, that never gets old. That was fun.
Oh, my God. His traps. Yeah, they were fantastic with the tripwire. And at one point, when they were fighting as a couple, he's like, I'm going to go walk through one of your tripwires. And he's like, oh, don't do it. The fights they had as couples were great, too, because they showed they were like kind of just a real couple that operated as a real couple during the apocalypse. Frank wanted friends. He wanted to invite friends over when they have the dinner or the luncheon, brunch, whatever it was with Tess and Joel, and he's still got the gun. That was so funny when they go inside and everything. And then the government are all Nazis line. Oh my God. That was the funniest line of the episode. They are all Nazis. Well, they weren't then. That was so good.
Frank was such a guy, he wouldn't ask permission to ask for forgiveness. He kind of just would do it. And him and Tess are doing their little radio codes.
He lent her a gun, right? And he was like, oh, I lent her a gun. And he was like, which one? He's like, it was a small one.
It was small. Like, all right. It's like, that is something, I think the reason I enjoyed it so much, I think it did give the show a lot more humanity, right? Because it's just like,
oh yeah.
And I think that's probably like the flashbacks too, because you feel like it's actual living things instead of just being this like dark, dreary world, which, by the way, fuck that flashback showing that little baby in the baby clothes after we had just seen it as a skull with its mom. I'm like, oh, come on, man. What the fuck are we doing here? I didn't
that was real fucked up.
There's one thing I did like about or I guess it was right before the flashback. I did like when she sees the plane and she's like,
yeah.
And it kind of gives you
perspective. Fly in one of those things.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, but you would have sit in a middle seat. It was $12 for a shitty meal, and you got think about all the stuff we complain about on airplanes, people are too loud, the baby's crying, blah blah blah, and they're like, you flew through the sky and go anywhere in the world in like hours, like that's fucking crazy. I'm like, we are kind of dickheads. I think it was I don't like what he's done, but I think Louis C.K. had a great line about like people who complain about like, oh, the Wi-Fi is not too fast on the airplane. It's like, you fucking selfish prick. Do you realize what you're saying right now? So Ellie did give me like a moment of I don't know if the word's brevity, but I kind of just like,
it is like a miracle that we go up in planes and survive that. We do see Bill get shot fending off some bad guys, some raiders that come to his town, and it's a dramatic scene. Like Frank wakes up in the middle of the night, shit's on fire, there's explosions going off, you hear gunshots, and Bill's just in the street fucking cocking his gun, boom, cocking his gun, gets shot. He's like, no, let me stay out here, call Joel. That's the big thing. He's like, call Joel, you're gonna be alone. He thinks he's gonna die. Frank, though, saves his life. Beautiful moment between the couple.
What is Bill doing out there? Bill, like,
I know, he didn't even have any cover. He was like in the middle of the street.
Just fucking pick these guys off. You're in your house. You can see them. You have all your booby traps. Those dudes getting lit up by the blowtorch was awesome too. I like,
oh, so good.
The zombies is one thing, but like raiders who are like real scumbaggy people that are trying to like ruin someone else's life, I have to admit, I kind of enjoyed watching them get lit on fire. I don't know if that's wrong to say or anything. I'm anti-Nazi and I'm anti-Raiders, not the Oakland Raiders or Las Vegas Raiders. Shit, I kind of like the Raiders.
Well,
but
I was gonna say you're a Giants fan, so you're kind of anti-Raiders.
Yeah, I guess, but like
not that they're rivals, but just that they're not your team.
You know what? I play with the Raiders in Madden. I started a franchise when I wanted just to. Like I just switched things up and they had a fun team. I always like to have a running back, tight end, and a couple of receivers. That's all I want to kind of have those things. And the Raiders were kind of a team that had all that. So I'm like, all right. And I kind of like started like rooting for the Raiders this year as I was winning games. So nothing but love for the Raiders.
You don't hate the Raiders.
Anti-Nazi though. Anti-Nazi, anti-actual Raiders that try to ruin people's houses. And an all-time misdirect.
Oh, thinking that he was going to die.
You see the wheelchair. And you're like, oh man, Bill's fucking paralyzed. And they throw it. It's Frank who's all fucked up.
It's Frank in the wheelchair. And
cancer?
He is, I don't know if it was cancer or if it was like a Parkinson's type disease because his hand was shaking a lot. But they said there wasn't a cure for this when we were, still operating as a society. There's not a cure for it now. And you see, it's been so many years. They're both looking way older, way more weathered. And on one day, Frank gets himself out of bed. He said it took him all night to get himself out of bed into the wheelchair. Bill's like, why would you do that? Frank says, because I decided today is my last day. At the end of the day, we're going to have a nice dinner, and then you're going to crush up all my pills, put them in my wine, and that's going to be it. I'm going to fall asleep in your arms. And at this point, I'm like weeping. And I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like Bill, on the couch when he just can't believe what he's hearing. And they go through with it. They have a nice dinner, very romantic. The way he presents the wine, just like their first date. It was, I think, the same meal as their first date. I believe. Rabbit, yeah, which I didn't really like to remind myself of because I used to own a rabbit. I love rabbits. Wouldn't eat rabbit, but it was rabbit. If we're calling it a rabbit here. And when it comes down to it, he swallows the wine. And then Bill goes right after him and swallows it the exact same way. And you see where it's going. And he's like, did you put pills in the bottle? And he said, yeah, enough to kill a horse. He's going out. He said, you were my purpose. I'm going out with you. And they go into the bedroom. They leave a note for someone to find them. Probably Joel. They put on it. It wound up being Joel. And that's it. They left the window open. We see Joel and Ellie find the house. They don't go into the bedroom. Ellie finds the note and he says, are they dead? And she says, yes. She reads him the note. They left the window open. And that's the final shot of the episode is out the open window. They take the car and they're off on the road. But oh my God, we'll never forget Bill and Frank.
We'll never forget Bill and Frank. This shit really fucked me up good. And I actually, when Bill, he would never do this in terms of the survivalist thing, which, by the way, think about the survivalists that are probably still in their bunkers from COVID. Like, there is There was a
There's
time.
got to be someone out there underground right now. Like,
Someone?
I'm not coming out.
Honestly, I'm putting the over
How many?
at like 10,000. I think there's probably
No.
10,000. Oh, there's still like New World Order.
I was gonna say like 12 people, maybe
12?
underground.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's our Price is Right number 12, 10,000. I don't know how we'll ever be able to figure this out. I'm telling you, there are a bunch of Looney Tunes.
Leave it in the comments.
Yeah, exactly.
How many people are underground right now?
But when he was like even before he met Frank, and he's cooking, and you see it's like medium rare, and he's taking even the way he pours the bottle, and I was like, this is what Large would do if he was in the middle of a zombie apocalypse by himself. There's no way he'd be able to set up the entire house. He'd have to pay someone to set up the entire bunker for him, essentially. But man, oh man, that man would have himself a hell of a zombie apocalypse all by himself, which I have to tell about this. I think he would really enjoy this show. And by the way, I don't know. I'm a big strawberry guy. I don't know if I'll ever look at strawberries the same after this episode too, right?
Yeah, it's a tough look.
Can you imagine having a strawberry for the first time in like 20 years? Oh my God, it must taste like
Oh, I thought you meant you wouldn't look at them the same way because they almost start to have sex on top of them.
I'm saying it's like
you were saying the opposite way.
I'm saying it's a beautiful thing.
I thought you were saying you would look at
symbol of love.
And be like, I'm trying to bone right now.
I'm always trying to bone when I'm eating strawberries. This thing tastes fucking delicious.
All right, but that was The Last of Us episode 3. Do you have any final thoughts?
When like I'm like gutted right as she's reading letter. He's like, I never liked you, Joel. It's like that's so funny. Bill. Of course he says that. Like a guy I did
respect you. Never liked you.
I never fucking even knew this guy existed, and he fucking like broke my heart. Like it's absolutely crazy. And loading up on Bill's stuff in the video game must have ruled. Like you're just getting like when you have if that I guess this didn't happen in the video game the way I thought it did. Because I think Bill he traps you, I believe, in the video game. This is again, my guy heavy spoilers.
First, yeah.
And you're fighting zombies and stuff with him.
Yeah, you're fighting zombies upside down, he said. But then I think you do fight off raiders with him. And I think that's a longer like level.
Yeah. But I'm seeing those like the guns on the wall and getting a car. I'm like, it must have been like when you level up 3 levels in a fucking game.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Or did you ever play GTA and then get the money code? And you're just I'm like, oh my God, I have 7 checkpoints in a block of each other with the sickest apartments ever. So I loved it. And then calling it now, Bob. We've been saying it for a while. We've been saying it with a bunch of different objects, but not this object. Chekhov's gun finally appeared. Ellie finds that gun in the drawer, packs it up. That motherfucker's coming out.
Puts it in her
coming
backpack.
out. It's going to be good. I also learned this was something I didn't realize. Again, my guy Heavy Spoilers said, like the way Joel puts his bag on the ground is the way they put their bag on the ground when you have to go into. Like they do go line for line with some of the video game stuff, which I appreciate even if I never played the game, and even little actions like that. But then, like you said, you can't really imagine doing this scene in a game. You couldn't do it. Be like, press square to pluck strawberry, hit circle to make love to your man. Like, what are you gonna do? You can't do that. It's a completely different thing. But it's beautiful, and I loved it. And I know there's definitely a sect of the internet that hated it. I don't give a fuck. You guys if you didn't love it, like I'm not saying people have to love it either. You don't have to love it. Like
but if it's fine. For the reasons that some people would hate it. Fuck.
Oh God, I have to look at the review. Do we do the live review of let's see. Do they have what's it called?
Rotten Tomatoes per episode? No. They just have one for like the overall show. But I
says season
saw
1, episode 3 here.
Oh, really?
97%. Oh, this is critics though. This is critics though. IMDb.
Fuck the 3%.
Fuck those critics. Those bigot critics. I wonder if IMDb has a fan thing here. I don't know why I'm looking for these. 8.1 on IMDb. 8.1. There it is. Haters.
That got review bombed. Yeah,
that got review. And it still got an 8.1 after a bombing. That's the most impressive bombing I've ever bomb defense I've ever seen, other than our guy fucking Bill, who somehow survived the. He knew it was up too. He knew those fucking. This is the only problem with this episode, though. There's one problem.
The doomsday preppers think they're right.
Yeah, they're like, Bill. See, I'm gonna be the one, and they're just like, oh, you fucking asshole.
Yeah. All right. Listen, if there's any survivalists out there underground listening to My Mom's Basement, I promise you could come back up. The world is safe, or at least as safe as it's going to be. And we thank you for listening. Thank you for making it to the end of the podcast, the DCU Phase 1 recap, The Last of Us Episode 3 recap. what can be our hashtag for this week?
Oh, we just had a line too, and I was like, that could be it. Strawberries.
Hashtag strawberries. There you
Hashtag
go.
strawberries.
I love it. All right. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Make sure to like the video and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. That really helps the basement out and help out our friend. Check out Clem's pinned tweet. We're going to be tweeting out the link all week for her and everything. We'll talk to you next week.